Pacers rebuild has been a fascinating rebuild to me because it was never really a true rebuild. You think about the Pacers since I've watched basketball, the Paul George era, they made conference finals. When they traded Paul George, they got back Victor Oladipo, and Oladipo had an all NBA season and was one of the best two guards in the world with them. He gets hurt, so they don't reach that same level. But there was a point in time where they had Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert and Miles Turner and DeMontis Sabonis and TJ Warren, and they were competitive. We always knew they had a limited ceiling, but they were competitive. They never went into a full tank mode. Tyrese Halliburton wasn't drafted by this team. Kevin Pritchard has built a contending roster with trades and through draft picks, but through calculated trades, the free agent market isn't available to Indiana like it is available to other teams. And Kevin Pritchard, over the past 3 years, this is just 3 years, he's traded for Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, Aaron Nesmith, and Tyrese Halliburton. Those are 3 starters that he's traded for. He traded Sabonis for Hallie. He traded Brogdon for Nesmith. He traded a second-round pick for Obi Toppin, and he traded Bruce Brown and 3 firsts for Pascal Siakam. Overall, really good returns. And then he drafted Nembhard in the second round, Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Jackson, Ben Shepherd. The only players right now on this current team that were there before these players got there were TJ McConnell and Miles Turner. Outside of that, Kevin Pritchard over the last 3 years has brought all these players in. And a big reason why they're so good is not only because Halliburton is one of the best point guards in the NBA and they have another all-star in Siakam, but it's also that they are a deep team like 8 through 12. There are players that don't get playing time for this team that would be fundamental role players for other teams. Like Jarris Walker doesn't get playing time, and whenever he steps on the court, he makes an instant impact. And Isaiah Jackson got hurt for the year, and this team's depth is still amazing. So overall, they're able to compete at this high of a level because you just look at the roster compared to other teams in the league. They are one of the most deepest teams in the NBA.
I also think it's really well brought together with the fact that Rick Carlisle is their head coach as well. And it is obviously a huge luxury that you do have one of the best playmakers in basketball in Tyrese Halliburton. But with the offensive system that obviously Rick Carlisle has put into place for the Pacers to go out there and execute, you see, like you mentioned, with all this depth, there are a plethora of pieces on this team that can initiate and get out and run and get this offense in the high level that we've seen it be over these last couple of seasons. And you look at a game like today, and you mentioned it, Tyrese Halliburton wasn't the best scoring version of himself, but like you mentioned, it really did not matter when you have Pascal Siakam shooting 90%. You have Miles Turner pulling up in transition, Ben Shepherd, Obi Toppin go ahead and being contributors. I think it was Nesmith right before the half. He goes and he has a nice buzzer beating shot to go ahead and put the Pacers up 40 points. There was literally whatever they wanted to do, they could go out there and execute at the highest of levels tonight. When you look at how great of an offensive system that they have created, and with the depth that they have and the different pieces that can carry out the offense that Rick Carlisle wants to go out there and run, it really brings home the point of how great, how well-rounded this Indiana Pacers team is. And it's really, really starts with the front office all the way to the 9-10 guys that Indiana can religiously run out there. It really has been impressive all season long for them, and it's really coming into fruition for them at the perfect time.
Yeah, it's funny what you just mentioned, Joel, that we talked in the offseason about Orlando's offense versus the Pacers defense, because of course Orlando has the bottom 3 offense in basketball this year. You know, had injuries and whatnot, but the offense was so terrible. But it just makes you think of the 2 franchises and how much Orlando is criticized for lack of movement, right? For lack of going out there and getting that star guy like Anthony Simons, who's been linked to them. Trae Young's been linked to them. The list goes on and on. But really the 2 biggest moves that the Pacers have made over these last few years have been trades. It's making the swing Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton, and it's going out there and trading multiple first-round picks and Bruce Brown to go and get Pascal Siakam. So we've known for years, like you mentioned, this has been a team and a franchise that's shown they're able to consistently put out great teams. They're able to draft and develop well. But what we've seen is when they went out there and made a big swing for a star, that's how they're really able to get over the hump, right? Like the Magic. I know you had 3 years in a row, multiple years in a row, and Suggs and Franz, Paulo. We know you can draft well, but we've also seen you need to add something on top of that. You have to use different, avenues to improve your team. And that's what the Pacers have done slowly but steady. You know, you think of the Aaron Nesmith trade from Malcolm Brogdon. At first, it looked like, damn, the Celtics were able to get a 6-man of the year caliber guy for no one who's really in their rotation. A couple of years later, Aaron Nesmith is one of the better role players in the NBA, a guy that could hit threes, who could play awesome defense, is a big energy guy, super athletic. Nemhard, a guy they've been able to draft and develop. And of course, the Miles Turner, who they've had there forever, and TJ McConnell, who's been there forever. So they've just been able to really pick and poke at all avenues in terms of team building. And this is an awesome team. Like, this is a team that, of course, you know, I think Boston has more firepower, and of course they have the experience of doing it, but they're going to be a tough ass series. You know, that's if Boston gets past, could be New York. Who knows, Joel? Your Knicks aren't dead. 2-1. Come on, cheer up.
It's not. I mean, we're up right now. If the series ended today, we'd win the series.
Yeah, facts. But it's going to be a tough series. They gave it to us last year, pause, and, you know, that was with Halliburton getting a little banged up. So they're a great team, man. Well coached, like Drew mentioned, and one of the best well run.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing about how they've built their team is they took swings on depreciating assets. The entire NBA was scared to trade for Pascal Siakam because he was on an expiring deal. There was the question mark about whether or not a team wanted to give him a max contract. I'm looking back on the Pascal Siakam trade. They traded Bruce Brown, Jordan Nora, and Carol Lewis Jr. for 3 first-round picks. They really just traded 3 firsts, and those are 3 late firsts for Pascal Siakam. I mean, you're doing that 5 times out of 5 times, 10 times out of 10 times, whatever number you want to put on it. They took a swing on him. Obi Toppin, 8th overall pick, was getting buried in the Knicks rotation. Tom Thibodeau didn't really play him. Oh, this guy's insanely talented. Let's throw a 2nd-round pick at him. Okay. They got Obi Toppin. Aaron Nesmith, like you mentioned. Tyrese Halliburton was like a swap with Sabonis and Hallie. And I think it brings me to a bigger conversation. It's a thought I had earlier that the Pacers have made all the right moves to fully support Tyrese Halliburton, and the Kings in that same time frame have made all the wrong moves to not support Sabonis and Fox, to the point that Fox ended up getting traded, and now the Kings are kind of like in this full-on no man's land, close to a rebuild point in time. And it makes me ask the question that if Tyrese never gets traded from the Kings, because he originally was drafted there, and let's say they do pick they do pick Halliburton over Fox, do you even trust the Kings to maximize what Halliburton has become?
No.
I was going to say the Kings are the Kings. And as you're saying it's just clicking like, no, this makes sense. The Kings have been a sorry organization for decades.
Ever. Yeah.
For my entire lifetime, outside of the last 3 years that Sabonis has been there, and even still, they've been underwhelming for how good of a team that they have, at least on paper. When you look at the Pacers, essentially our entire lives, they've been a respectable team, a respectable organization. Especially for a small market team, you have to tip your cap to all the moves and all the levels of success. Although they haven't reached the mountaintop, the consistency that they've shown to at least try and put an effort towards winning, it's admirable. Unlike the Kings, who have been just a nonstop year after year shit show. That's where I look at these two teams, and yeah, no, I don't think that if Halliburton stayed on the Kings, I'd feel confident in him. I think Halliburton would be really good because he was really good on the Kings when he played, and we all were scratching our heads as to why they chose Halliburton over Fox, because at the time Halliburton was playing better than Fox, and then Fox obviously ended up turning up once Halliburton left. I think that with Hallie and Sabonis would be interesting because Hallie does provide that extra level of playmaking that Fox, he's not necessarily.
Well, they wouldn't be on the same, or unless they swap Fox for Sabonis.
That's what I'm saying. Instead of Fox, it would have been, or instead of Halliburton, it would have been Fox. That would have been interesting to see. But nevertheless, let's not open up Pandora's box. No, I don't trust the Kings to make good moves.
No, not even a little bit. They would still be terrible.
And I think that's just the difference. Halliburton getting traded to the Pacers was like the best thing that could have possibly happened for his career. And the Pacers have consistently been just one of the most well-run organizations and just consistently good, great. They've just always been there. And 2 ECFs in the Paul George era, about to be 2 ECFs in the Halliburton era. And I think because the Pacers have ran into some teams that have been injured, I don't think they get enough credit. even though the Knicks were injured last year, coming back from a 2-0 deficit is admirable. The way that they punched the Knicks in the mouth in Game 7 felt very similar to what they just did to the Cavs in Game 4, where by halftime you kind of knew the game was already over for the Knicks when in Game 7 last year. And then this year, beating the Bucks like they did, having two comebacks where they were down 7 points with a minute left and still winning the game. And now against the Cavaliers team that, yeah, the first two games the Cavs weren't healthy, but we just saw them blow them out when the starting lineup was out there in Game 4. You know, two Eastern Conference Finals in 2 years. You know, that's admirable.